everybody, it's James with Love My Pups, My Breeder Supply. Had been a bit while since my last video. I apologise about that. I normally do question and answers every week. I will get that done next Monday, so again, apologise for that. Anyway, today I want to answer a question that I keep getting asked for people. It's about which is better. When you're shipping semen and you're doing an AI, should you be using frozen or chilled semen? So the short answer to this is that when you start talking about dogs, we almost always used chilled semen, not frozen. When you start talking about the farming industry, and this is where some of this comes from, I think, the farmers are all using bull semen and it's all frozen. So the way the frozen works is that the farmer who has the bull collects from the bull, takes that to a vet. The vet then allocates that up into what are called straws. You know, I thought I had one here, but I don't. But they look like a tube like this. They hold about half a cc of bull semen. They then freeze this in liquid nitrogen, and they have to add what's called a cryopreservative to be able to stop this from destroying the sperm as it gets frozen. Put it in liquid nitrogen at about 190 degrees Fahrenheit, store it for up to 10 years. When the farmer who has the cow that he wants to breed, he goes to the vet, takes his cow down there maybe, the vet draws out the correct straw from this large vat of nitrogen that's kept this frozen for years, thaws it out and inseminates the cow. It works great. So why aren't we doing this on dogs? Well, it's a rather different situation. With dogs, typically when you're doing an AI, the dog is in one part of the stud dog's in one part of the country, and the bitch, the female, is somewhere else, and it's not just a question of going over to that place and getting some frozen semen. Hell, if you were doing that, you just do an on-site AI and you'd be doing fresh. You wouldn't even be doing chilled or frozen. So what we're doing is we are shipping semen from one place to another to arrive the next day. So how do we do that? Well, we use what's called chilled semen. And chilled semen is kept close to freezing, but it's never allowed to freeze. If it freezes, it immediately destroys the semen and the whole sample is worthless. If it gets cold too quickly, then it will cold shock the semen, and again it destroys the semen. And finally, if it doesn't stay cold enough for long enough, the semen will die because it has to be kept in this somewhat suspended animation, something close to freezing. If you get it right, if you chill it, you cool it down slowly, you keep it around 5 degrees centigrade, you use the right extender, which is basically a nourishment product you add to the semen, you collect it properly, you can have a sample that can last for up to 5 days. But, you know, in almost all the things that I do, that semen's going to be shipped out in the afternoon by FedEx and it's going to arrive there the following morning. Now, I've got one I just packaged up just now that's going to go Greyhound, and that might take a couple of days. So you want something that has the ability to last for at least a day and hopefully a couple of days, because you never quite know what's going to happen. Like right now, there's really nasty weather on the East Coast because of Hurricane Dorian. And if I was shipping out there, I would absolutely worry about whether it would get there the following day. It might get delayed a day, or if it's over a weekend, a day or two. So you want to have some wiggle room. Right, so just to recap, and I'm going to talk quite a bit more about the chilled. Frozen, if you're archiving a dog. If you have a dog that is a famous dog, that you want to be able to have his semen available for your own girls or other people's many years in the future, then the only way to get that done is to freeze it. If you're freezing it, you've got a large container that's being continually topped up with nitrogen. You're not just going to do it for a single dog, you're going to go to a facility that does this for you. If you're shipping it, you have to ship it in a very large, expensive container that costs about $1,000. The shipping is very expensive because the thing is huge. Return shipping is expensive. When your semen arrives, it has to be used. Once it's thawed, the length of time the semen stays alive for is measured in hours, not days. The conception rate is not as good, but people use frozen semen typically if they're shipping overseas, and they're shipping overseas because they, with that solution, the frozen solution, because they don't know about my solution, I have a solution that will do chilled semen that will last for up to 5 days. So let's just talk about how you typically do this. So the commercial products that are out there are ones like this. This one is, I got this one in actually just to inseminate somebody else's dog. They had this shipped here and the dog came here and I inseminated the dog. Canine Express. This product here, I don't know, about 45 bucks maybe, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. The way it works is you have a cold source, open the thing up, and if you look inside here, you'll see there's a frozen gel pack. This is the cold source. This is what's going to cool the semen down. The semen is then separated from the direct contact with the cold source by a little flimsy piece of polystyrene. And then this is the tube that holds the sample in it. So the tube sits down here. The barrier stops it getting too cold. The whole thing goes on top. The whole thing goes like that. Right, so why not just simply use this? Well, the answer is that's exactly what I was doing when I was starting my process of trying to ship chilled semen about 6-7 years ago. And I can tell you that it was an absolute bloody disaster. I mean, I got so many phone calls from vets to say the sample looked like crap or it was completely useless and not usable, and upset customers, quite rightfully so. So I started logging these things to find out what the temperatures were inside this. And what I found for the majority of all my shipments, it was nowhere near getting cold enough. So the reason it's not getting cold enough is you think about what's happening here. Let's say we're shipping today. Well, it's September, it's almost 100 degrees outside. Goes into a FedEx truck. The FedEx truck's probably 120 degrees in the back of that. It then goes on a plane at an airport to go for the actual trip. The cargo hold of the airplane might be not much above freezing. So it goes from these wild extremes, and so this thing has to be designed that it doesn't get too cold when it's in the cargo, so it doesn't freeze the semen, and at the same time, it doesn't get too hot. So they've got this compromise they have to do as to how much ice they put in, how close the ice is to the semen itself, which is dictated by this thing, and how thick the whole container is. And guess what? You can't design this thing to work in all environments. It just has no way of controlling itself. So, what do I think of this? Junk. Absolute junk. If you're going to use that, good luck to you. You may be successful and you may not be successful, but I can tell you I know of a way that gets it done, and I invented it. And it's called Shipmate. So the way it works is that you have a thermos flask, and inside the thermos flask there is a microprocessor and a heater and a memory chip, and it knows what the temperature is inside this. Every second it checks the temperature and adjusts the temperature by adding more heat or adding no heat as necessary. By the way, here's the sample. So you collect from your dog. This is a thing called a whelping. I'll show you this real quick. So it's very, very simple. I've got videos on how to do this. You basically buy these things called whelping. They're very inexpensive. It comes sterilized. You rip the top off. You open it up. You collect from your dog. You pour the semen into this. You add some extender to it, pre-warmed extender. You whirl it back down. That's why it's called a whelping. You whirl it back down, and that then becomes a sample you're going to ship, and that's what's going to your customer. So that then goes inside. Very easy to do. Goes inside the little flask like that. You put a fresh battery. We're going to pretend like we're doing this. So this is the only consumable parts that you're going to have to replace each time is going to be obviously the semen and the dollar battery. So you put the battery in, and it immediately checks, and you see it's flashing red. It says, hey, by the way, that is a used battery. You might want to get a fresh battery. Then it went blue for a second. Then I'm going to redo that again. So red, bad battery. Then it went blue, and it goes blue because it's warning you, hey, there's trip data in here. It records the entire trip. So I can actually press a little button here and it'll play the trip back. 1 second of data on the LED represents 1 hour of trip. And you can see it's gone green, which is exactly 5 degrees. And it will now stay that way. This is probably about a 20-hour trip. It's going to stay that way for about 20 seconds. And you can see there that it's green, right? And then we may not want to wait long enough while this 20 seconds runs out. But anyway, what will happen is it'll all of a sudden go red because it was taken out of the container. And that was the end of the trip. So, does this work? Well, the answer is I have now had over 3,000 consecutive shipments without a single failure of semen. This thing does work. By the way, it's gone red then. This thing absolutely works. It comes with a money-back guarantee, and it's reusable. You can use this thing over and over and over and over again. So the way it works is it takes this current temperature, when it's loaded up, it's very slowly over a 4.5 hour period, 1 degree every 20 seconds, gets it down to 5 degrees centigrade. And then we'll hold it exactly at 5 degrees centigrade for the entire trip. And it's smart enough, if a customs official, because it's an overseas shipment, opened it up and warmed everything up in the process, it slowly cools it back down again to 5 degrees so that it doesn't cold shock the semen. And the difference between my product, this is $149, you use it over and over and over again. You use this 3 times, it would cost you the same amount as buying the $45 product. But the big difference is, you might have saved $100 on the throwaway item, but you didn't get a litter. I mean, you just spent, maybe $500 or $1,000 or more getting all this set up, plus the stud fee, to not get a litter. I mean, use this. It works. I mean, you know, this has turned our stud business into a great success. Well, we have Frenchie studs, and I ship as many as 8 of these every day. We do that much of this. And why do we do that much of this? Well, we've got nice dogs, sure. But also, we give guarantees in everything we do, and we know that if we get our timing right, your dog gets pregnant. I wouldn't use anything else. If I had to go back to the old boxes that I had when I was first doing this, you know, 8-9 years ago, I wouldn't be doing it. It was just too much stress, too many ruined opportunities for people to get dogs bred. It just wasn't on. But nowadays, I follow up on every single shipment I do because I know that everything's going to work out great. So what do? All right. So I collect the dog, stick this in here. Here's the shipping container. You buy these, you can buy them as a kit from me, or you can buy them on Amazon. The shipping box is about $10. I put 6 of these gel packs in there, not 1, 6. 6 of these silly things in there with a much thicker wall. So this thing will last days of keeping cold. The only thing that can go wrong with this is it gets too warm, and you can control that by the number of these gel packs you put in and the size of the box. So that's now under our control. So this has been loaded up with semen and a fresh battery. It goes inside the box like that. Then I send to my customers an AI rod, a glove, and a syringe, so they can get the whole thing done at their end under their own steam in their own house. Got videos on how to do that. Put a lid on it. Box it up. I like FedEx, they're very reliable. FedEx, send it out. FedEx gets it to them typically the next morning. In most places, rural places, it might be in the afternoon. FedEx is super reliable. I mean, I might have one issue a year where there's a weather delay problem. But here's the great thing about this, is this thing can last days. So they can run into situations where I have to ship out, for instance, on a Friday for a Saturday AI. Well, there was a weather situation, something happened, it didn't get there on a Saturday, it gets there Monday morning. Semen's still viable. Now, their dog may have missed the right time to breed. That's a separate issue. But it won't be because the semen was no good. And all the other products that are out there, they have a huge problem with getting semen to arrive in decent shape. And by the way, there's people who ship overseas. Those people are using frozen semen because they don't realize that this thing exists. And so they're spending a lot of money to do that. So they've got to pay for expensive shipping container, expensive shipping costs, and then when it gets to the other end, the conception rate's not as good. They should have been using this because they'd have puppies. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I appreciate you looking at our videos. I will get next Monday a video out for the question and answers that I get. If you have questions about any of this, if you want to buy any of our products, if we can help you in any way, even if you're not buying products from us, we'd be more than happy to answer phone calls and answer texts. And again, we really appreciate you watching our videos. I know there's tons and tons of them out there on YouTube, and I'm very happy that you selected ours. I hope it's useful. Subscribe to us. If you like what we're saying, tell us. If you think we should do other videos, tell us. If you hate what you were doing, tell us. We'll always respond. We always try to be absolutely as honest and open as everything as possible. So again, please give us some feedback, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.